For everybody that's listening in, today we've got a very special group once again. We've got Wayne from Willow Tree Muffler, and we got his grandson Evan from Willow Tree Lawn Care, and we got Tom the Taxman Jones, one of the regulars on the Bitcoin is Dead podcast. So I wanted to start with a mistake that I made during the last time we spoke. I think it was you specifically, that I don't think your business should accept Bitcoin because at the time, my train of thought was, if you accept Bitcoin as a method of payment, right now, most everybody around here they don't know about Bitcoin, and they aren't going to spend it even if they know it. Here's what I think companies should do in general: is the first thing you should do is adopt Bitcoin as an asset for the company. So if you have cash, instead of just keeping it in the bank outside of whatever funds that you need to operate, if you have extra funds that you're not going to spend till a later date, then drop that into Bitcoin and just hold that, because it's going to do two things. The first thing it's going to do is it's going to give you exposure to Bitcoin, which is a good thing, but it's going to give you educational exposure. You have to figure out how to convert your cash into Bitcoin, how to store the Bitcoin. And then as your conviction grows over time, and more people interact with you about Bitcoin, if you have somebody then says, hey, I'd like to pay in Bitcoin, it's very quick and very easy to then accept payment. I mean, within 24 hours, like at Taxman's place, within 24 hours, we had a system set up where he could accept Bitcoin. And I think, Taxman, you would probably agree, not a lot of people want to pay in crypto.
Not yet. It's, again, what you stated is true. In this area here, people is slowly beginning to adapt to it. And I think a lot of it has to do with the bad press that has gone out. The guy down in the Bahamas there, Sam Bankman-Fried there, of course. But really what he did was no different from anyone else that would have been laundering money and basically running a Ponzi scheme against the public, unknowing what was taking place. And of course, my position, which I'm even more and more a believer in the Bitcoin, is that it's going to help minimize the cost for small business. Then what you mentioned there about Evans there, he probably would run into a few problems dealing with the public there as to being paid, because I know my other clients is doing lawn care service, things of that nature there. The younger people, and by that meaning my grandson, my daughter, all in on Cash App there. And I notice more and more of my clients, heating and air, plumbing, things of that nature. A few Cash App were more of the Zeller there in the Vend mode, because of course they've been out there and then they're tied to the different banks there. But what Trey just mentioned, beginning to accept Bitcoin, that even when you have those individuals that want to pay you, it's going to be to your benefit, because it's going to help build up your asset there on your balance sheet. And then of course Wayne knows when you go to borrow money, the first thing the bank wants is, okay, let me see your balance sheet, what do you own and who do you owe? And of course with Bitcoin, especially with the fact that it's continued to show an appreciated value, it's just going to enhance your overall net worth, which means when you go into the bank or whoever you're dealing with, they're going to be like, hey, look at this balance sheet there. That shows, and also it's going to show that running the business, that you got the discipline to set aside the money for that rainy day.
Yeah. So like I said, I think that in the long term, you will want to accept Bitcoin, but as a step towards that, which is the ultimate goal, but a step towards that, I think keeping it as a treasury asset is a good idea. If you want to accept it like quickly, it's not hard to download a wallet. I mean, me and a few of you went through that. Download a wallet on your phone, and you can accept Bitcoin right then and there. So it's not hard to do. It's just a matter of how you want to implement it. And what I don't want people to do is set up a system, try to accept Bitcoin, and then run into problems the first time somebody tries to pay or the first time they want to interact with it. They run into problems. It makes them nervous. They don't feel as comfortable with the asset because they haven't spent any time with it to actually see returns in general. So once you understand the returns and you have an understanding of how to store it, how to use it, and so on and so forth, it's much easier then to accept. So I wanted to correct that from the last time we talked. It's bugged me since I did it. But how's lawn care? What's going on in the lawn care world?
It's pretty good so far. I've seen a pretty big increase in work this year. I kind of aside from the lawn care portion, actually doing the work and more towards like the, I guess, business side and running the company, I kind of redesigned our marketing uh, program this year. So I created a website and started running Google ads. And because we used to be on something called Angie Leads, and I didn't really like the idea of it. It was really expensive and kind of inconvenient for us. And the Google ads have been working a lot better.
Yeah.
And I've been seeing a lot of really good results from that. And that's something that I really wanted to do. That's a big goal of mine for this year was increasing the amount of work we had and, getting more jobs and things like that. So,
You guys staying pretty busy?
oh, yeah.
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 How many days a week you guys putting in now?
We're putting in 5 to 6 right now.
Yeah.
I was hoping to keep it like, well, the idea is to mow 4 days throughout the week, Monday through Thursday, and then Friday and Saturday do projects like mulch installs, landscaping projects, or anything like that. And then if it rains or anything like that too, we have Fridays and Saturdays to catch up also if we don't have any landscape projects. So.
Do you do the patio with the outside, I call it outside fireplace there? I noticed you're seeing more and more homes that's doing that. Again, growing up in the country, I'm like, okay, just go outside and build a fire there. But of course, more and more you see your homeowners, and they look pretty nice, especially the stonework. So you provide that as well?
Not yet.
They call that hardscape.
Yeah, hardscape. And that's more
Hardscape. Okay, I saw. Okay, hardscape.
Yeah, my cousin works for a company that they do a lot of hardscape.
He's thought about it. He has thought about it.
Yeah, well, in the future, there's time, and that's one direction I'd like to go. There's many places I see the company going, and that's somewhere I'd like to go eventually is doing hardscaping and things like that too, because it's pretty nice. And
do you also plant trees, flowers, things
Yeah.
like that? The customer wants that.
Yeah, we do plantings, and kind of another service that I started offering this year is weed control and fertilization. So you probably heard of like True Green, companies like True Green and other weed control and fertilization companies. They don't mow at all. They only do weed control and fertilization.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is they just go out and spray for weeds, keep your lawn fertilized, and you're on a year-round program. All throughout the year. So that's another benefit of that too, is that it provides job security, in like the winter months and things like that.
You got a certification for chemicals, license.
Oh yeah. There's a certification process and licensing process. So there's a gap, like a skill gap between like weed control and fertilization and people that just kind of do regular lawn maintenance like mowing. So, it just helps us stand out more. And it also separates us from like people who are more, just doing basic things.
Right.
And something I've been seeing a lot this year is that people they just want to go through one company for everything because
one-stop business.
Yeah, exactly. Because a lot of people are having lawn care company that just that mows their yard and everything, does all of that. And then they also have True Green come out, spray for weeds, keep the lawn fertilized. But it's pretty convenient being able to offer a complete lawn care program.
So you're going to give them the full turnkey, and whatever they want, you can come back and provide the herbicide, pesticides, things like that. Do you ever get any requests for dealing with insects? Because I know earlier this year was some kind of bug, and everybody was
cicadas.
Complaining. Yeah, everybody was complaining about that.
Well, that's the thing too. So there's a separate license you have to get for doing insects, which that's called structural pest control. I'm licensed to do weed control,
Okay.
So I'm not legally allowed to, spray for insects and things like, well, at least ones that are inside the house and around the house. But, maybe in the future, haven't completely decided yet, if I want to go that route of, spraying for mosquitoes and things like that. Because even for mosquitoes, you need a structural, if I'm not mistaken, you need a structural license too, even to spray for mosquitoes, which that kind of goes hand in hand, with the weed control and fertilization. People start wondering about bugs and, things like that. So, I might I might end up getting that license also.
Yeah, I know. Of course, people have changed over time, and everybody likes to be able to set outdoors and don't have the bugs, don't have any problems there. And so, of course, again, looking for the turnkey. But you mentioned earlier about you no longer use the Angie list.
Right.
I mean,
Yep.
it just wasn't working out, or you just wouldn't get the leads.
No, we were getting them. They would pop up, but the thing is, when you get a lead through Angie's List, it goes to you, and it also goes to like 3 or 4 other contractors.
Oh,
It doesn't just go to you.
Okay.
So when it pops up on my phone, first of all, as soon as it pops up, I'm charged like $40, $40 to $45
really?
per
Yeah,
lead.
it's a charge whether you get the lead or not. Let me elaborate on this a little
Yeah,
bit.
please.
Yeah.
Well, when it started out, and don't get me wrong, it was Home Advisor then. I think Angie Lee's bought them out when I started 7 years ago. And it was an excellent way. It's an absolute excellent way to start a new business. Because it's actually targeting the customer that you want. I mean, they're coming to you to do that work. So it really got us going, got us started. And also some of these other things I wasn't familiar with that he's using now, or maybe it wasn't out there. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But it is expensive. There's no doubt about it. And I did notice that we've been in it so long. We've been on Angie's List, or Angie's Leads. Angie's List is what the name of it is. For, like I said, 7 years. We get a lot of repeat business. A lot of customers, even if somebody we already have reaches out and we're on that list, we'll still get the lead and we still get charged. But we can dispute that charge. But we get so many in, it's hard to catch, it's hard to take time to do all that. We can write in and say, this is an existing customer, and they'll take that charge
So when you
off
would
of
get a repeat customer, a returning customer,
if they're
they would
looking for
still
somebody
charge
else,
you.
you still
Wow.
get charged until you can dispute it and say the reasoning for the dispute, and they give you
Okay.
credit. But if you miss that or whatever, you're too busy and whatnot, that's still a charge. And it varies on, I noticed it varies on the neighborhood this in. Like West Burlington is going to be higher than East Burlington
Okay.
or out the Haw River.
Based
area.
on your zip code.
Yeah, it's based on your zip code. But it was an excellent way to start a business. But now that we've been in longer, there was a lot of downfall. But we're still in it. We're still involved in it. They do have some excellent software we've got a very, very large customer list, and that's all embedded in there. We got every customer that we've ever did work for or requested work. If you wanted to take that list and start sending out flyers directly to them, try to get their business and all, but there's a lot of advantages that it offers, but there is disadvantage because it is expensive. We're probably paying maybe on a weekly basis $200-$300.
Sometimes $200 to $300, and you can put that
at height the bit. But you can turn it off. See, right now we've still got it, but I've got everything turned off on there. You got to have one active service that you provide, and there's a whole list of different things. Not only in lawn care, anything. You can turn off all the ones you don't want to be active in, and it's divided up in business and residential. So I turned everything off except snow removal business.
Which right now in the middle of June,
Right. What's the chances of somebody?
But if somebody in a business wants to get, we do snow removal.
Yeah.
But we really don't want to do it for, we don't care about going to driveway to driveway. We want the shopping plazas. We do have about 7 shopping plazas that we do now during the winter time.
Yeah.
And that's how we got it through Angie's Lead. We'd have never got that if it hadn't been for Angie's Lead.
Yeah, I personally
Advisor.
I just don't like it at all. I never really have, and I agree that it is a great way to start. Maybe get your first 10 clients or something like that. But once you get to a certain point, you have like a few clients established. Definitely, I would invest in building your own website because there's easy ways to do that, and going into Google ads or even Facebook ads.
It's easy to say we just get out of college, you see. You just get out of college, graduating computer science or getting out of college, that's easy to say.
Right.
But when you hadn't done it, never done it, that's not an easy thing. And it's costly, too.
Yeah. I would say starting up, building your website initially and getting on the Google. The initial cost, might be a little bit higher than initially getting on to Angie. But over time, you'll be saving a lot of money. You know, you won't be spending, you know, 2, 3. Well, it depends on how much you put as your monthly budget. That's another thing too. You know, by running Google ads and Facebook ads, you can control your monthly budget and everything. But yeah, I would definitely, for any service provider, any business that sells a service, definitely look into website, Google ads, Facebook ads, and I would stay away from Angie's List. If you look up Angie's List and their reviews and everything, most contractors don't really like them. And, you know, that's just something I've learned from experience. So,
and two, by the fact, how many years have you been out there now?
Really since I was like 13.
Oh, okay.
So I've been on and off, you know, throughout my middle school and even high school career, college career. You know, I've been on and off just when I have time. And then
you're talking to the tax man now,
right? Oh, okay. So he probably he really, you know.
No, you didn't. You wasn't on. You know, he was just working.
Oh yeah. He saw when I wasn't, you know, officially like on the payroll and everything. Yeah, but yeah, I've been on for a while. You know, I grew up with this company, and you know, I really love what I do. So, yeah.
He started mowing about 13. You know,
okay.
Make sure to get him started early.
Yeah, I'm 20 now. So.
All right, stay there as long as you can.
Something else, I hadn't even throw it on him either. You talking about that pest control and all? Yeah. I'm going to get him into beekeeping. So when he's out there, if a swarm of bees is there, he'd catch them and bring them back, and we'll get back started.
That's not a bad idea. I never thought about that.
Yeah.
Bob.
There's a whole community around beekeeping on YouTube.
Oh yeah,
he was really big into beekeeping.
I was in beekeeping.
Yeah,
pretty good size.
Did you work with the Alamance County Beekeepers Association?
Yeah, I was in Alamance County, North Carolina. I was on the list of with the agriculture board, and that's another funny story. They used to call me. Remember Ghostbusters? They used to call me the Bee Buster because I'd go to work with a beehive in the back of my truck. And whenever they call into the agriculture extension about a hive of bees, and they would contact me to go get them. So if I was working, I'd have to get off work and go catch the bees, and then I'd go back at night and pick up the hive. So I'd go all different times and catch bees. That's where I got most of my bees at. I got 50 hives at one time.
Wow.
And I still got all the wood and everything, and I just got too old to do it. But I got a young grandson that's a good entrepreneur, and there's a lot of money to be made in bees.
It's unbelievable. I got a couple of clients that's into the whole bee thing. And the fact of it is, a lot of people take bees for granted, but if you don't have bees, you don't eat.
They pollinate. A honeybee pollinates about 90%, 80-some% of all the food that we consume. The only other pollinator, real good pollinator, decent pollinator, is a bumblebee, and it's lazy.
Wow.
I can't remember the figures off the top of my head because I hadn't done it in 25 years, but since I bought the service station.
That whole term, busy as a bee.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I would do it. You know, I would be interested in maybe getting into beekeeping or something like that. But I'd have to wear one of those suits with a net over your face.
I never wore a suit.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was about to get into. Is how he's never worn a suit. He would go in there, you know, I think he'd take his shirt off and everything.
I have my shirt off, just go and jump in.
Well, the reason behind that too is because I think you mentioned this to me before, Pa. You know, if you're wearing your shirt and a bunch of clothes and they get under your shirt, that's what aggravates them, and that's what makes them start to sting you. You know,
that's not the only thing, but that is one reason.
What's another reason?
They're mad.
Okay.
They get mad at you.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's definitely good something to get into. I just thought about it when you talk about pest control. And that'd be ideal to incorporate with this business.
Well, you know, that's the thing I really love about lawn care and landscaping is that it's a perfect. There's so many doors. There's so many different ways you can go with it. My dad has even told me that he knows people who started, you know, mowing lawns and doing lawn care, and then now they own like 20 dump trucks, and they're, you know, they have like $1 million business, few $1 million business, you know. So there's just so many different avenues you can go into.
He's got a good start too.
Yeah, I mean the growth potentials is
Yeah.
really unbelievable there because I mean the fact of it is we was mentioning here earlier about the whole homeowners association there because of course more and more people living in those type of developments there, and also the fact of it is you just don't see the children more in yards anymore, and of course everybody likes to have a pretty yard there. And well, speaking of that, have you had any trouble with getting people to work? Because again, running the tax service and payroll, I know that's one of the things a lot of my clients in construction is getting dependable workers. Have you encountered any problems with that?
Not yet. Fortunately, I have a pretty large family, and I have some family that I can call on to help me. Like right now, I have my uncle and my cousin working with me. And, fortunately enough, they're pretty good, and they listen to me, and,
Okay.
we're able to work together and everything.
So your cousin's helping us now, or?
Yeah, Will. Yeah, his name's Will.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right, your cousin, other grandson.
Right. Yeah, well,
I was thinking about the other cousin that was
right.
lawn care.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
That's exactly my point is that I have, such a big family that, I'm able to call on them for help. And, like I said, I have another cousin who's working in landscaping. So if I, once I get to a good point, I would be able to, probably pull him in if necessary. And another good thing is that he has experience. So, but once it comes to, finding other people on the outside, I think that I would have a problem finding good people.
Yeah, I mean, because of course everybody's dealing, and I want to say everybody, when you start talking about manual labor, especially in the food industry, waiters, waitresses, what have you there, and it's interesting that the small businesses are still having a problem with getting people to work because of this inflation. How has this inflation, has it had, I know it's had a negative impact. So how have you been able to handle the whole inflation with the escalating costs?
Well, really the main thing was cutting our, that expense, our marketing expense. That I feel like that's helped us a lot.
But he's increased just like
and increasing rates too.
Increasing rates.
Yeah, all of our rates.
Everybody expects it now. So.
Right, there's no way out of it.
But yeah, that was so. That's those are a couple really big things that I feel like that I've done this year was like I said, I reworked the marketing expense. And also, I increased our rates, all across the board on everything.
When you went up on your rates, what kind of reaction did you get from your customers?
Well, nobody was really mad. Everybody really understood. I have almost 80 lawns that I maintain regularly, and when I went up on my rates, I lost one customer out of 80, about 80, give or take.
You spend $10 or $12 for a cheeseburger now at McDonald's.
But, out of that many, regular clients whose lawns I maintain, I feel like losing one out of that many is, pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive there because the fact of it is your business is no different than anybody else, especially if you go in the grocery store. Because I know for myself, I had a few complaints about the increase in my tax preparation and monthly bookkeeping fee there. But the fact of it is, I don't care who you are, what you're doing there. Everybody's dealing with this escalating cost there, especially the guys in construction because they don't know what the price of job from one week to another week there because of materials and supplies there. And of course, everybody has a different take on inflation, but the bottom line, it just means that your dollar is not going as far as it used to be.
Right.
And so, of course, you got to stretch it what you can, but you can only stretch it so much.
I read yesterday that $1 in 1930 is now worth 17 cents. 17 cents. There are people alive that were born in 1930 or before.
Yeah.
In their lifetime, they've seen almost the complete destruction of a currency.
I looked at the statistics being born in 1960. A dollar today will be worth $10 in 1960. So that just goes to show, what's taking place to the dollar. And again, due to inflation, and that's one of the things that's so attractive about Bitcoin is going to help insulate this, especially when you begin to set aside money. Because in the past, you set aside $1,000, you got inflation 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10% a year. That $1,000 at 10% is now $900. Well, who's going to make up that difference there of your buying power? Because the bottom line, that's what inflation does. It destroys your buying power.
Well, I just wanted to make a point that Due to my age, I feel like I've never really noticed, inflation in the stores and everything like that until recently. Growing up, I remember going to McDonald's or anything, and the price for, a meal, like let's say number one, for example, $6, $7. Now, you go and it's in the double digits.
Yeah, it's like $13.
Exactly. It almost doubled. And I'm starting to see that now with my own eyes, and it's kind of interesting because I'm like, wow, I feel like I'm getting old by seeing that, by noticing the inflation and everything.
It's unfortunate. I hate it that, to me, it feels just like the 1970s. It feels like I'm living in Groundhog Day. Because right now, it's almost a mimic of how it was in the late 70s.
Of course, you just a little bit older than I am, Wayne, but I can I can remember that. And back then, of course, for y'all youngsters, that's when you had to buy gas based on the last digit of your license tag. You had the even and the odd days. Yeah. And I can remember my mother was working in the textile mill, and she had a Volkswagen Bug. And, of course, she would go in there and fill it up, and then she would drop my younger brother and I off maybe, a block or two from there. And then we would go with the plastic jug to get another 2 gallons so she would have enough gas for the week. And people don't think that can happen. But of course, as Wayne and I know, it very much did happen, especially that, about 72, 73, 74.
73, 74.
Yeah, so it can happen. Now, also by the fact that you are, say, an entrepreneur, and with this inflation, and you see what it does there, again, how it takes away the buying power of your money, you can see also, I guess, being an entrepreneur, it makes you realize it more.
Oh, yeah, definitely. That just means that as prices increase, we have to increase our rates too. Even if it's in the middle of the year, then I increase my prices. If I keep getting so many jobs, then, I have to increase my prices.
Now, majority of your customers are individuals, commercial?
Majority is residential clients,
okay.
Majority. But this year at least, we are getting a lot more commercial customers too.
How did you get the commercial customers?
I think it's from increasing my social media presence and Google and everything, because before, maybe last year and the year before, you look up Willow Tree Lawn Care, not much came up, but I completely updated our Google profile, and I made some social media accounts for us too.
Which one did you do for the social media?
I did Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. So, some stuff and I made it kind of appeal to younger audiences, I guess. I made it, colorful and everything. Made some videos, before and after pictures, things like that. But the main thing is with my website, I was able to, it's important to include keywords like lawn care in Alamance County, lawn care in Graham, lawn care near me, things like that. That way, when these commercial people are looking for new clients or new service providers, they're probably just going to do a Google search like anybody else, lawn care providers in this area. And so I have to, put in the work to make sure my website and my Google profile comes up, when they search in those keywords. And, I feel like I did a pretty good job with that. So I think that's really how I got a lot of these commercial projects that I'm getting now.
If I had a product for the lawn care business, for the industry as a whole, I had this new product, could I just approach you as a business to business thing and say, hey, I got this product? Could I just approach you and then get you to help me tailor that product, or maybe even use that product? I'm thinking, to get a little backstory here. If I start working with crumb rubber due to some other stuff where I have basically just granulated rubber, I can form that into any mold. And what I'm seeing some people do is form it into mold for landscaping, a variety of different applications. But if I came to you and said, I've got this this edger, or this edge that you would put down as a separator between, say, the driveway and the grass, or I have mulch, like rubber mulch, could I just approach you and say, hey, here's a product, try it out. If it works, let me know. If it doesn't, then let's work together to try to figure out how to make it work. Where is it going wrong for you? Because I have some aspirations to do some stuff like that down the road, and I'm curious how to take a non-existing product into a market that already exists.
So you basically mean like test it out?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I'd be open to things like that.
You have got one call for some of that artificial mulch. You said you had to buy it down at Lowe's or something?
Yeah.
It depends what the market is too, but.
Yeah, I haven't personally, with my, everybody's business is different and everybody gets different types of leads and everything. But, me personally, with our business, I haven't had many customers use artificial mulch or anything like that. I've, my grandpa said, I have had one lead come in where they wanted to use artificial mulch. But, as we progress and as we move on in life, I think that will be a thing that people will start to get into. And the reason is because it doesn't decompose, it doesn't...
Color doesn't fade.
Right. But it's just, I feel like it's just not, kind of similarly, I guess, to like Bitcoin, it's just not like advertised. People don't really talk about it that much, but definitely in the years coming, I see that to be on the rise.
The idea is that you take a wasteful product and turn it into a useful product. And in some instances, I don't know all the ins and outs of mulch, but I know that it changes color and I have to refresh it every year or two.
Yeah.
Whereas if I didn't have to refresh it, I'd be a little more interested in a given, like if I'm at the store and I'm looking at a bag, if this one's color never fades and this one does, all things else or everything else equal, I'm going to take the one that doesn't fade. Yeah. If I somehow know that. So I'm just trying to come up with ways to use scrap rubber because I think I'm going to end up with a lot of it.
Yeah, that's a great idea, and I think the only thing really kind of maybe pushing people away from that is the initial cost because regular mulch is pretty cheap, and rubber mulch is more expensive, but there's a lot more pros. Like you said, it doesn't break down. You don't have to refresh it every year. This person that reached out to me actually. I think she said she put it down like 5 or 6 years ago, and it still looked fine to me. Yeah. She just said she just wanted something new.
I've never seen a tire change colors, no matter how long it sat in the field. Yeah. So I mean, that's the weird thing about tires. There's no way to get rid of them effectively. I mean, you can burn them, but that creates its own problem. Yeah, that creates its own problem.
Well, that's I'm not exactly sure. How do they do it at the dump? Do they burn it? I thought they burned it.
They shred them.
Oh, they do shred them?
I would think. They don't burn them. I don't know that, but I had heard at one time they were shredding them to add to asphalt.
That's another application.
I had heard that.
And also, like if you go to a track or if you go to like in the Mebane Park, there's like a paved walk around.
Yeah.
Kind of around. That's all recycled rubber. Just crumbed up and colored. And they come in and put it down. I'm wondering if you can take it. When people do epoxy floors in garages, they come in and they put down a lot of epoxy and then they throw flake on it. And that flake gives it the color and the epoxy gives it the hardness. You could do effectively the same thing with rubber, but you wouldn't throw it onto it. You would color the rubber, whatever color or patterns you wanted, and then lay it out almost like a thick paste. And as the epoxy hardens, that rubber is ingrained in it. And so you'd have a semi-rubber, semi-epoxy floor. And that floor would potentially be something that would last, epoxy lasts for a long time, rubber never goes away. So that floor would almost last indefinitely if you had the right mixture of epoxy and thickness and all those things. There's a lot of experimentation that you could do with crumb rubber. And I think lawn care is going to be one of the places where because you can mold it into so many different shapes. Bricks, patio pavers, edgers, all these things you can mold rubber into, and people will just come drop off tires because they can't get rid of them. So your incoming supply of goods is free. The only thing you've really got to pay for is storage and processing.
Yeah. I would definitely test it out. I wouldn't be opposed to that at all.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I'm pretty sure I could find some use for it, in a job.
Yeah, down the road, if I progress down that road, which I'll probably know more about by the end of this year, if I progress down that road, I'll definitely come knocking because I can't design a better product if I don't know what the product needs are. So if you come to me and say, hey, I could really use something that does this better or cheaper, then I can say, okay, let me try to build that. And then turn around, give it to you, and actually test it out. See how it goes. That'd be fun. And potentially, good for both of us.
Yeah, definitely.
So do you go to a lot of houses?
Yeah.
I suspect you run into some interesting people. I'm not asking specifics here, but Everybody knows about the pizza delivery guy, the plumber. We all know how that stuff works. Milkman. You run into wild stuff when you're out there talking to people?
Uh, Not as often as you think. I mean, I've seen some, pretty far out things. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I've definitely, interacted with some interesting characters.
My old father-in-law was for after he got out of the Navy, he did like Time Warner installs, and he said you wouldn't believe the shit that people open the door in. He said you wouldn't believe it. So you go to do an install at a house, and the lady opens the door, and she ain't wearing nothing but a bathrobe, and she ain't shy about nothing. He's like, you just gotta stare at the cable while you're plugging in things. Like, just like, okay, I'm not gonna look anywhere because you might get in trouble. You don't know what her actual intentions are necessarily. Dudes get in trouble a lot these days, but I thought maybe in lawn care you might run across that. Like, yeah, maybe you come out back and water these plants and something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I've definitely ran into some interesting characters. Like I said, I just can't think of anything off the top of my head right now. Well, I can think of something off the top of my head, but if I say it,
yeah, you don't want to let it out.
If I say it, then it's gonna because it's so far out and like so interesting that the person would know like it was about them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, fully. I get you.
So
we are kind of a local podcast.
Exactly. So if I disclose that, they would know it knows about them.
Yeah.
Going back to what you're doing with your landscaping business there, because that creates the whole middle class. Once you take away the incentive for individuals to go in business for themselves, you begin to destroy the middle class. And if you don't have a middle class, then that means you're going to have a very small percentage of extremely wealthy, and everybody else is going to be living in poverty.
Today on the way here, I was thinking, if 2% interest, or excuse me, 2% inflation is the target by the Federal Reserve, then in effect, a kid born today, if we stuck with 2% inflation, a kid born today and into whatever his lifespan would be, every year his life would get 2% worse, like in a measurable way. So if you go over the span of a lifetime, a solid 80 years, that means that it's 160% worse than it was when you were born, if you live 80 years. Whereas if you flip it, if Bitcoin gets 2% more valuable over the years, or every year, which is presumably will be way more than that, but as a point of comparison, that means that your life would be 160% better by the time that you died. And in terms of what you could do, all things equal, and it's actual slavery. Like it's actual, like for real, no cage slavery.
And that's the intention of inflation, that it keeps you where you're constantly losing because the value of your work has decreased. You go out and you get a job and you get paid $100 for it. Well, you wake up in the morning, that $100 is now $99. You've lost $1 overnight there. And then, of course, over a period of time, it's continued to accumulate. And the fact of it is, when you talk about income inequality, just equality, period, or what have you, standard of living, when your work begins to lose value on a daily basis, then that means someone has robbed and stole from you. Because who are you working for? You're working for yourself. But with inflation, you wind up working for the bank, because then you got to go borrow money to make up that difference that you have now lost from the value of your labor to pay your bills. And it's not going to change as long as you got inflation. And we have been sold to believe, it's only 1%, it's only 2%, it's only 3%. And in the scheme of things, you think, okay, that's not a lot. But as you just stated, 2% in 10 years, that's 20%.
Yeah, I mean, it's the equivalent of being like, I'm going to go earn $100 an hour. And then in 10 years, somebody says, well, now you earn $80 an hour. It doesn't work out that way because the pay normally goes up, but the pay doesn't go up enough to compensate for what was lost due to this invisible taxation inflation thing. And nobody knows, like most people don't know what's happening. That's the crazy part. As I walk into the grocery store sometimes and I see people just going about their daily lives, checking out, buying some hamburger meat, what have you. And I know what everybody's thinking, like, damn, why is this shit so expensive? Or how is it more expensive? Or I don't have enough money, something like that. And the unfortunate part is like, none of you understand. Like you don't have a
Well,
mechanism to learn what you need to learn. Nobody's going to tell you.
If you're using EBT, government subsidy, you don't care.
Dude, I'm so tired of fucking liberals.
you don't care. And that's the thing. And that's really what has happened is, again, that we've been brainwashed that, okay, everything is all well and fine. And so, boom, at the end of the day, those who are working and paying taxes is got to pay for those who don't work. And I saw something, I may read too many things there, that roughly 20% of the population pay no tax whatsoever and is totally dependent upon the government.
Oh, yeah. I have a family member.
Yeah.
There's no question she doesn't pay taxes.
So who pays for them? We do.
Yeah. I'm like, how do you get money back at the end of the year when you didn't pay in? Like, I didn't know how that actually worked because from 18 till now, I was either in the Marine Corps or employed. I've never had an unemployed period. Well, except when I got fired recently. But other than that, I've never had an unemployed period. So when it came time for this one particular family member of mine talk to me about taxes, she was saying that, I'm going to get back X, Y, Z at the end of the year on average. And I was like, how? Like, how do you, normally if you get money back, that means you paid too much in. How do you get money?
Normally.
Yeah. Like, how do you get money out when you didn't pay anything in, when in fact you took from the system the whole time? She has no idea. She doesn't know how she gets that money. She has zero idea. Like the light bulb is not on when it comes to that conversation.
With children, I mean, could you
Earned income credit.
Earned income credit.
Yes, the best thing since sliced bread if you don't work.
It's the craziest shit. Like I have to pay taxes, and at the end of the year, I might owe taxes because I didn't pay enough taxes.
Right.
Where somebody who paid zero taxes gets money back because they didn't earn enough money to pay taxes. It's like.
And when you really begin to peel the onions away, individuals such as yourself who are young, you're going to be saddled with this debt. And again, majority of people don't understand when they talk about, we got a $36 trillion debt. We're running at a deficit of $1 trillion a month. Well, most people can't comprehend that. I think we said $1 billion is 1,000 dump trucks with $100 bills.
Yeah, it's an incredible amount.
Yeah, I mean, again, think about that. A tandem dump truck at $100 bills is $1 billion.
And this is 1,000 billion.
Right. So most people can't begin
times 34, 36.
Can't begin to comprehend
36,
that.
I think it is.
And you see, and one of the things too that we've been led to the slaughter is the whole concept of Social Security. You see, your generation is paying for Wayne and I to have Social Security. You know, Trey's a little young. He got a few more years to work there. A few more years to slave away there, for a lack of a better term. But the fact of it is, that's what inflation does. And inflation comes from you can have a natural disaster, but it comes from one thing and one thing only: excessive government spending.
Mm-hmm. And it permeates every part of the culture.
Everything.
It permeates there's a new music video out, and I don't even know who the artist is, but it's horrendous. It's so hypersexual from a female perspective. It's so hypersexual that it's unbelievable. In my opinion, is that the reason that you have people that are so comfortable acting in this manner is because they know that sex sells. And because you don't have enough money, or your perception is that you always need more money, you'll do these type of things in order to get that money. And it's just a matter of levels, right? Some people won't stoop to certain levels. Other people will do other things to get more money. But when there's easy money to be made by just saying hypersexualized shit on the radio, you're going to continue to do that. And if you think about that from terms of TikTok, Instagram, it's an assault on core values of human decency. And they don't realize it, but I believe at its core, it's a chase of money. Just like pretty much every other problem, in my opinion. But no, they'll never know that. They can't know that because they won't understand. They won't take the time to understand a conversation like this, where somebody's taking from you and they're like, well, I got more money this year than I did last year.
And that's all they care about.
That's the end of the question. That's the end of the conversation. And it bothers me deeply that I have to raise kids in this type of environment and combat these type of things. Meanwhile, the Federal Reserve is talking about, pausing hikes or pausing their activities, and everybody's like, well, I can't wait till they print some more money so the stock market will go up.
Or get my stimulus check.
I'm like, you don't understand what you're talking about. You're saying I'm going to shoot myself in the foot, but I'll run faster afterwards. And you're like, no, like you don't understand.
The whole, again, for lack of a better word, hustle on being disabled at 35 years of age. I mean, true enough, there are some individuals who are truly disabled, but there are also individuals that take advantage of being classified as disabled at 30, 35, 40 years of age, and Social Security was not designed for that.
And then you got Biden coming out talking about canceling student debt and things of this nature. It's like, you're not stupid. Right? Biden, any president was not stupid. They might not have been intelligent, but they weren't stupid. Biden fully knows that canceling student debt ain't shit. It's nothing. It means nothing. It'll help out the families that get canceled, but otherwise it means nothing. You could cancel 60,000 people's worth of worth of college debt. What impact would that have on the economy? Effectively none. When you have $35 trillion in debt. Was it 2 days ago? Our debt payment surpassed our defense budget.
Yeah.
And our defense budget is like 30 times larger than every other country's that comes after us. Student debt doesn't mean anything.
And there's a thing on Fox News today. I was watching it on the Fox Business Channel, where they're projecting the debt to be $50 trillion by 34. 50 trillion.
Yeah, that.
See what you got to look forward to?
You can't, and that's why I think that companies should hold Bitcoin, because you can't combat this. You can't outwork this. Right? There's no way. You can work until you're older and potentially have like a reasonable life. But the value of the work that you put in for 40, 60 years of your life is not going to be shown if you're using the dollar as a traditional saving system.
And another statistic came out. I don't know if you saw it, Wayne. I think it came out sometime this week here, that you have a higher percentage of elderly retirees, basically they're 62, 65 age and up, are having to get another job to just maintain their standard of living because of the escalating property tax and property insurance. Even if you just talk about food in general there, of course, we all understand and feel the impact on food. And the thing of it is, the increase when you talk about property tax and property insurance, that's affecting individuals who own property. Now, if you don't own any property, you don't feel it. If you go to the grocery store and you buy everything through EBT or what have you, you don't feel it. You don't feel it. You're living in government subsidy houses. You don't feel it there but basically you are a slave of the federal government. And unfortunately, people have been brainwashed to think that they're coming out ahead. Well, how are you coming out ahead and you have basically forfeited your right to get what you think is a free check?
Bread and circuses. Just keep them entertained, keep them fed, and they won't revolt. It drives me crazy. And especially when I talk to people who I care about, at a personal level, and I try to explain something to them about this, and then the next comment out of their mouth is, "Oh, so did you see the game last night?" It's like, yeah, it's cool. But you're being like, if I came and stole 2% of your shit from your house in front of you, you would be outraged. If I took a battery out of your remote, if I went over there and stole the mouse to your computer, took out every left sock that you own, and took 2% of your goods,
took away your YouTube,
you lose your
TikTok.
mind. But because somebody's doing it behind your back, you're like, yeah, okay, it's fine.
I'm not going to worry about it.
Yeah, you don't even know it's happening. It's an invisible tax. Something I wanted to ask both of you guys, though, on a different note. So we've talked to you. We've tried to reach out to some other business owners. We recently talked to the gunsmith business in downtown Mebane. They own a T-shirt company and a few other things. Is there a company in the area that you've always wondered about that we could reach out to and say, hey, let's get together, do a little podcast, brand new company we don't know about, but maybe something that interests you specifically. We'll bring you on as kind of a guest and we'll talk with them. What do you guys think? Is there a company that comes to mind?
Yep.
What's that?
Quick Cash Pawn.
Quick Cash Pawn.
Or, no, Super Safe Pawn. I'm sorry. That's the previous place he worked at. Tracy and
On North
I think
Church
Tracy
Street.
and Teresa.
Yeah, because
the
they
actual-
buy. Yeah, because they buy. In fact, if you heard the ad on WBAG,
Oh, yeah.
your hometown station, there they talk a lot about buying coins and collectible there, and so of course they very much understand the value of having an asset is going to have an appreciated value as opposed to a depreciated value.
So what was the name of them again?
It's Super Safe Pawn.
Super Safe Pawn in Burlington?
Yeah, and it's right
Okay.
down from the muffler shop. If you go the bypass, as soon as you get in, well, it's still in Hall River. It's right before you get to the city limits of the end of Hall River and the start of Burlington, there, Town and Country. It's on the left.
Okay.
I'm good friends with them. They're good people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll try to get them on. I'll reach out to them and say,
Let
Like
me.
to have
I'll
them.
speak with them.
you want to speak to them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a company that you guys don't have contact with that you'd always been curious about that you'd like to talk to in the area?
Oh, I thought you. Oh,
But I'm completely cool with the pawn shop. Is there
Yeah.
anybody that you guys don't know? Because I've always driven by these industrial places and wondering how did that shit start? Like obviously some of them are chains and didn't start there, but like local places that are in industrial facilities, I've always driven by and wondered how did that start? What do you do? Did you go in the bank and ask them for a $30 million loan and they just gave it to you? Like how does this work? out?
Oh no.
How does this work out?
It doesn't quite work like that, does it, Wayne?
But on the pawn shop front, that'll be interesting because they are heavy in gold, I presume, gold and silver.
Yeah, a lot of
They are.
collectibles.
Yeah.
There's a antique store in downtown Mebane, right on Clay Street, downtown Mebane, and I walked in there as a gold guy. Right, they sell antiques and gold and things like that. And I want to have him on the podcast, but I haven't figured out how to approach him yet because the last time I saw him, I mentioned Bitcoin and we had a small conversation. And now obviously he has a business that deals with gold, so he's got a stake in it. But he told me, he said, you should be ashamed of yourself out here telling these people these things. You should be ashamed of yourself. And I've always wondered, like, what do you think I'm telling people? Like, where do you think I'm coming from? And I'd like to have him on the podcast, but I got to figure out a way to how to approach him where it's because I'm not trying to pin Bitcoin against gold, right? There's an argument to be made from both sides.
Sure, I mean, you could have, a lot of other things. Just like when you have a meal, you can have different things.
Yeah.
That's just another investment thing, in my opinion. That's what
I agree with
feel.
you.
It's just another commodity.
Yep.
Exactly. And that's, and that was one of the things when it first came out, there was a lot of question, but now we got more and more government rulings and the IRS said, okay, it's an asset.
Yeah.
Just like gold, silver, land. And when you sell it, it creates a capital gain.
Yeah.
Just like gold, silver, land there. So of course, and I know people have their own idea about it, and that's part of what we've got to do is to educate people. But what you just said, Wayne, is the case.
Well, I
it's
think
it's
what-
just another investment.
What scares a lot of people, though, and it's totally different, particularly Bitcoin, totally different than what the central banking digital currency,
Yeah.
CB,
Mhm.
DC.
Yep.
I think, I've heard some of
It's
the
terrifying.
discussions on the radio. It's terrifying. And that
terrifying.
scared a lot of people because, that'd be controlled completely by the government.
Exactly. And that's their intention.
And they can cut it off. If, one thing that stuck out when I listened to y'all on BAG, Trey was talking, you might be buying too much of this, we'll cut you off,
Yeah.
Yeah.
maybe getting overweight and they cut you off on
Yeah. Or they'll tell you that
Sundays or whatever,
Well, there's this big problem right now where like the idea to lose weight is that you eat less fat. When the truth is it's the opposite. If you want to lose weight, you eat proper fat, steak, like actual protein level fat, not carbohydrates over and over again. And I can imagine a future where they say, hey, cows are contributing too much to global warming,
Oh, yeah.
so we're not going to allow you to buy beef.
Not the cow.
Oh, the cow.
What about the goat?
Well, I mean, goat milk is pretty friendly among vegetarians, or not vegetarians, among the left-leaning side of the crowd, I think.
There was another segment I watched today. I watched the Business Channel slightly, but it's on the same subject. Is they were talking about feeding our military. I didn't catch the whole thing. I caught a portion of it, but my understanding is this lab processed meat.
Yeah.
They were going to feed the military lab processed meat, which they say, it haven't gone through verifications. This is even safe.
Well, a friend of mine a while back was saying that if he could take a pill, just a single pill that gave him all the nutrients that he needed throughout the day and he didn't have to eat, he wouldn't. And this, like, he would take the pill, he wouldn't eat. And this led into a conversation about if you have an animal and the animal exists for the purpose of your needs, whatever it is that you need from him, be it working, eating, what have you, would you rather the animal live a very comfortable, a very relaxed, a very massaged lifestyle? Or do you want an animal that's more free roaming? There's risks, there's natural selection processes going on, that it's at risk, it's more natural. And I was like, I prefer an animal just as an animal exists, right? Off the hoof, cook him, we're good. And we came up with this idea where if we had a farm, we'd call it teardrop farms, where you could taste the struggle, because all of our animals were just animals living in a field doing animal things, right? There's no hormones, there's no massages, there's no anything, just teardrop farms. You could taste the struggle.
Well, being an old country boy, and I know Wayne can relate to me. Food, the taste of food has changed.
Oh yeah.
It's not.
Why is a McDonald's hamburger so much different than a burger on the grill? Like, what's in it? Like, what there's something there. It isn't just meat. It can't be.
I don't know. I do know if you drop this fast food outside, ants won't go to it.
No shit.
Yeah.
Are you
I know the
serious?
French fries.
Are you serious?
Yeah, the French fries.
I thought you were going to say that they won't decompose, which I've heard, but ants won't eat
Well,
it.
I know they came out with ice cream cones that cone won't melt because
The
of
ice cream won't melt?
Well, the ice cream will, but the cone that's holding the ice cream, because of the preservatives is in it. And if people was just stop and look at the ingredients in food, my thing is, if I can't pronounce it, I'm not going to eat it, okay?
Yeah.
Because again, you got so many additives that's put in the food, and all you got to do is look at the youth.
But and this is a perfect point. Why would I put additives in food if I knew it would hurt people? If I was a company, it's simply a financial motivation.
Exactly.
And you don't make enough money. You need more. And that's why I think everything is downstream of money. Because as soon as you start tracing it back, it just ends up at money.
Oh yeah, everything. The love of money is the root of all evil.
It never goes back to just pure, like, there are cases like vengeance and things of that nature where there's human emotion involved. But when you look at like structured things that people have created and tried to improve over time, typically it just results back to money. It just blows my mind how people don't
On
see
the
it.
other side, you have to have it to survive.
Right.
I mean, you got to have it to survive to eat.
And in Wayne, the thing of it is, a lot of people get the misunderstanding, but Bitcoin is just another means of paying your bills and being compensated for the work you have provided in the service there.
Well, just recently, I think it was today or yesterday, Germany sold 1,000 Bitcoin. And they got that Bitcoin from taking it from people who had done various illegal things and such as that, right? So that causes impact to the price. And you see a nation state selling Bitcoin. I think if you look at a nation state like El Salvador, who's buying one Bitcoin every single day, you can go and look at their wallet, and every day there's a new Bitcoin gets dropped in there. I think countries like Germany are going to regret it down the road, because people will demand to pay their taxes with something that holds value, something that's more valuable than it was when they originally got it, because it improves their life to do so. They sell less of a commodity or less of a thing to pay their bills.
On that subject, since we are talking about that, do you think the cause of that halving occurred for getting paid for mining half price? That's my understanding of it. The halving occurred a few months ago.
Yeah, in April.
In April.
Yeah.
Do you think that's what's holding the price up? Because I've been watching it, and I noticed it running somewhere around in the mid 60s. I think 65,000 or something. Because I want to pick it up again, but I want to get it hopefully down in at least the 50s.
Well,
I don't think it'll drop.
So imagine if I have a Bitcoin miner and that miner produces, and it doesn't, but let's just say it produces one Bitcoin a day.
Yeah.
After the halving, price irregardless, I then started making half a Bitcoin a day. So
Okay.
my supply is reduced by half. If I have to pay my bills with the Bitcoin that comes in,
Right.
I now have half of that income. So it's like if you lost half your yards, that it'd be the equivalent of that, where your money might vary, but the total quantity of, well, in your case, it'd be the total quantity of service that you were providing got cut in half. But realistically, when the income gets cut in half, miners have to sell more Bitcoin in order to service whatever loans or bills that they have in a month. So miners are selling a lot. On the other hand, because the ETF got approved, and I don't understand the Wall Street side of it all that well,
Yeah.
but there's a difference between the spot Bitcoin ETF price and a thing called the futures market, where people are buying a spot Bitcoin and then somehow working with the futures market to arbitrage between the price difference of those two markets. That's holding the price down. And typically after a halving, historically for 3 or 4 months, we've seen kind of sideways or even negative price action. Normally, if we repeat some of the same patterns, we should see the price start going back up around October.
I'm not really saying it's holding it down. It's really holding it up because I've watched it for a long time, or a pretty good while, say 10 years maybe, 7 or 8 years at least. And I've noticed it hadn't had the big drops as it has in the past.
Yeah, there's a heavy buying pressure.
Yeah, okay.
But long-term holders, people that have held Bitcoin, say 1-2 years, a lot of times they bought Bitcoin somewhere around that 65,000 mark back a couple of years ago. Now some of those guys are in the green when they're at 69,000 and they're selling. So there's a heavy sell pressure from not just those type of people, but heavy sell pressure across the board for people that are doing arbitrage or things of that nature. But then that's counterbalanced by people like the ETF. This morning, Michael Saylor with MicroStrategy, who is kind of my inspiration for my apology at the beginning of this episode, where I wanted to correct saying that you shouldn't accept Bitcoin, but you should buy Bitcoin and hold it as an asset. That's because that's what he's doing, and it seems to be working. He bought 11,000 more Bitcoin this morning. So 11,000 Bitcoin just went off the market basically forever.
Well, see, that's my whole intention anyway, exactly what you said. I mean, if I take it at the muffler shop or if he took it at the lawn care, it would be there for the long run.
Yeah, it's an asset.
That's right, it'd be an asset.
Yeah.
And just like the reason that Tom mentioned, among other things, it would definitely be an asset and just to boost up your bottom line.
Well, all of a sudden you've got something that you can go to lenders and loan against potentially. I mean, that's difficult to do now, but presumably in the future that'll be around. You've got something where if emergency hits, it doesn't take you out.
Yeah.
It can't be taken from you. Right? Earlier, before we started the podcast, I remember we were talking about people when they get a wage garnishment applied against them. There's no wage garnishment in the Bitcoin world. I mean, you can say I can't spend it, but you can't stop me in reality, right? You can imprison me, but you can't stop me from doing that if I have access to a way to do it.
That's right.
Whereas with a bank account, they can freeze it and you're done.
You can trade the Bitcoin directly, but if you take cash for it, and then they get it as soon as it goes in.
Like I think in El Salvador, you can pay 2 Bitcoin and get a passport. So things go real bad, you can move to El Salvador.
2 Bitcoin?
I think it's 2.
$120,000?
Yeah, but that's a full citizenship.
$130,000.
Yeah, that's the full citizenship. You can just, if you have the money, you can just buy, and they accept Bitcoin for taxes.
Yeah, it's just a reminder. His other side of his family. Evan is my grandson through my daughter, but his father's side of the family is from El Salvador. I didn't know. He mentioned that in the last podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully, in the future that people start to use it more down there, which the economy is definitely on a rise with this new president, Nayib Bukele.
He just got reelected.
Yep. Yeah.
And a landslide.
Oh yeah, everybody loves him. My whole family loves him. He's doing a lot of great things for the for the country. El Salvador was, probably, I think it was actually the most dangerous country in Central America. And now
In
it's
the world at one time.
Yeah, in the world.
Yeah.
And now it's one of the safest.
It is,
and,
yeah.
That's whenever your dad come over here. He was telling me about that.
Yeah, that's another reason why my
asylum.
A lot of family came over here and escaped the violence and things like that. But it's definitely taken a turn, and I have family who were finally able to go back and visit and safely, and they're having a really good time. So yeah,
and they can walk the street and they feel safe.
Yep, exactly. So Nayib Bukele is doing great things.
I don't claim it's all Bitcoin because I know he locked up a lot of the bad folk.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Judges and lawyers.
Yeah.
It's a double-edged sword, right? Like there was my understanding there was basically a suspension of their constitution when he did that.
Yeah.
But at some point, like if your country is absolutely and completely corrupt, Joe Biden, if he's absolutely completely corrupt,
Like you're getting now up here.
yeah,
He had to do what he had
at
to do.
some point,
Yeah.
the Constitution needs to be like our Constitution has an enforcement clause, but I don't know if the El Salvadorians did. But you can't argue with the results.
Right. I think like his Twitter bio says like the in quote unquote the coolest dictator in the world or something like that. Yeah. But I mean, you know, sometimes it's just necessary for the future, and you know, it paid off. So
His economic advisor is just an absolute crazy Bitcoin guy, like full blown. He was buying Bitcoin when it was $1.50. He was buying Bitcoin back then, and he is a full blown nutcase now. But he is 100% the economic advisor to the president of El Salvador because he's so well versed and so hardcore on Bitcoin.
And again, look at the results.
Yeah. Today Trump received a $2 million donation in Bitcoin, from the Winklevoss twins, the ones who sued Mark Zuckerberg during the Facebook thing.
original Facebook people.
Supposedly, yeah. I don't know the full story behind
Well,
it. But
yeah. You had to watch the movie.
Yeah, the Social Network, or is it called the Social Network or social? Yeah, I think it's called the Social Network. But yeah, they donated $2 million.
And not to get too far off track, but it's interesting how President Trump, when he came out and made the statement about taking Bitcoin, how the Biden administration has basically turned 180 degrees, where now they're going to have a Bitcoin conference.
It's game theory in action. That you have to do what's best for you, and what's best for you, unfortunately, in the case of Biden, is to accept Bitcoin. And the only reason I say unfortunately is because you generally want to be on the other side of the aisle on most things that Trump says are good, if you're Biden.
Yeah.
But he had to bite the bullet, and that's because you just can't ignore this, right?
No.
I guarantee you, if we walked outside right now and could talk to every person that drove by this company, 1 out of 10 would have no concept, no idea what to talk about when it came to Bitcoin. But the 1 out of 10 that you did talk to would know a whole hell of a lot. And that's because he crossed that barrier, and everybody eventually crosses that barrier.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I read or saw is 60 million people in the United States that either own Bitcoins or have dealt in Bitcoin
I don't know the exact number, but it's like a third of the U.S., something like that, owns a cryptocurrency of some kind. And probably say half of them have an idea of what they own.
Right.
But truthfully, there's probably less than 250,000 like pure hardcore, really understand Bitcoin people in the world. That's how early we probably are. There's plenty of people who know about it, who might own a little bit, that have heard of it, but people that actually understand it and really think about, can this win against something against the dollar, and have the tools to mentally process, kind of the dollar world against the Bitcoin world. There's probably 250,000 people who really get it. And those people are heavily invested in Bitcoin. They aren't heavily invested in the dollar.
They read the writing on the wall.
Yeah, I'm reading a book right now about risk. We talked about this the other day. Mm-hmm. And one of the new things that I came across was that insurance houses, we were talking about this.
Lloyd's of London.
Yeah, Lloyd's of London started as a coffee shop. And the reason that Lloyd's of London was successful was because they had access to information before everybody else did. And that's where we are in Bitcoin, is that if you're in Bitcoin right now, it may seem like you're 15 years too late, but you're probably 50 years ahead of the majority of the Western world. I mean, assuming that the dollar doesn't collapse immediately. But you're probably, if you just know about it and work with it, you're probably 25 to 50 years ahead of most of the Western world. But we can wrap up here. I appreciate you guys joining me. Evan, last time we talked, we forgot to get you and Wayne to sign our little artwork over there.
Okay.
We're going to auction that off at the end of 21 episodes. If nobody buys it or nobody bids on it, I'll buy it for myself, and I'll donate the funds, regardless of if it's me or someone else, to the Bitcoin Core Development Group, however small or however large those funds might be. But I wanted to bring it in today so to get an opportunity for you to sign it, because I saw your grandpa up at his shop since the last time we spoke. Okay. So he got to sign it then, but I wanted to see if you would sign it today.
Okay, yeah, no problem.
Awesome, because wherever that goes, it's going to live on somebody's wall forever, even if it's just mine.
Yeah, for sure.
So cool. Well, I appreciate you guys joining me today. We'll wrap up from here, but if you're in Alamance County, or if you're anywhere around here, get up with Willow Tree Lawn Care. Get
some firewood.
Yeah, get some firewood, get your yard done. Get up with Willow Tree Muffler if you want some exhaust work done. Tom Jones Taxes, we all know that's right there in Graham. If you want to go down there and get your taxes and payroll,
In between the courthouse and the jailhouse.
there we go. There we go. And we're gonna
You keep them separated.
Yeah, there you go.
And if you're a business in Alamance County, we want to talk to you. And by we I don't mean just me. I mean me and kind of my whole crew that comes along with me. I like to bring on extra people when I interview folks, so that way we can get different points of view. So if you own a business in Alamance County, Orange County, or the surrounding Central North Carolina area, let's get together. Let's talk about Bitcoin. Let's answer some questions. I've beaten pretty much everybody I know at this point over the head about Bitcoin for the past 2 years. So I'm looking for new victims. So just let me know. You guys can reach out to us on the podcast. We're all over Twitter, Bitcoin is Dead podcast, things like that. But otherwise, reach out to Wayne, to Evan, or to Tom for your tax, muffler, or your lawn care needs. And thanks, everybody.
Thank you.